Alright, so today we're going to be learning about the Battle of Verdun between the German Empire and the French Third Republic. How it started. So it started in February of 1916. And Judgment was the Germans' code name because of the chief von Falkenhayn, or however you say that. And his whole idea was to bleed France white. And bleed France white meant launching a massive attack on Germany's narrow stretch of land. And the Battle of Verdun was one of the longest battles of the Great War. Falkenhayn's plan was, like I said earlier, he wanted to attack on the narrow stretch of land that had sentimental value to France. He believed that France couldn't afford to let their forts basically get destroyed, and so he believed that they wouldn't back down. They would fight until there was nobody left to fight. But there was one major problem with that, and that was that he underestimated France's ability to fight back. He was born on September 11th, 1861, and he died on April 9th, 1922. Philippe Pétain. He was the general for Verdun. He was assigned in charge of Verdun's defense by French. He found himself in a very difficult predicament. He was born on April 24th, 1856, and he died on July 23rd, 1951, so you could tell he had a long life. He was later replaced by General Ninville, a soldier who believed that being on the offensive side at all times was the best way to go about it. And the reason for that was, the reason that he was replaced was because Pétain begged Geoffrey for more soldiers as the conflict progressed in the spring of 1916, but Geoffrey refused, and so because he said that he needed soldiers for the Battle of Somme. So General Ninville took over for Pétain. And if you've heard of Philippe Pétain, it's because he became a national hero in France for winning the Battle of Verdun. So we're getting into the war now. About 140,000 German soldiers attacked on February 21st. Germany had used about 1,300 trains as well as 168 planes. The French only had about 30,000 soldiers, which is a lot less than Germany had. And this is a quote from a French soldier. He said, "Men were squashed, cut into two, or divided from top to bottom, blown into showers, bellies turned inside out, skulls forced into the chest, as if by a club." So as you can tell, that is, even hearing about it sounds horrible. So I can only imagine if you put this into reality, that sounds awful. 1,000 German artillery guns fired on a 6-mile line along the French front on the day that the war began. Flamethrowers were used throughout the war. By February 25th, the Germans captured about 10,000 French. Germany had conquered the fort of Demont, By April, both countries suffered greatly, and they both lost a tremendous amount of people. Germans had lost about 120,000, and French had lost about 133,000 men. That's a lot of men to lose, without even the war being over. And for the first time, flamethrowers were utilized in considerable numbers to assist the Germans in advancing the 8 kilometers they needed to conquer Verdun. So that was a big help. On June 1st, Germany's attack on Verdun. On June 3rd through the 8th, Fort Vaux is surrounded by Germans, and after a 5-day battle, the French are forced to surrender the key position that they had. Falkenhayn steps down on August 28th, and he is replaced by a guy named Paul von Hindenburg. Paul tells everyone to hold on and stop, basically seize. So the French recapture Fort Vaux, or the French offensive at Verdun pushes German forces all the way back, almost back to where they started, back in 1916 at Bois de Chaumont. Germans have lost almost all their territory. The battle at Verdun continued all the way up to December, and in total the French lost about, they say, 360,000 men, and the Germans lost about 340,000 men. On February 21st, all the way to December 18th, 16 was how long this lasted, so it's a long time. There was no clear winner on who won, but they both fought to the end and showed how strong of teams they are. So yeah.